Even though my child labors me or troubles me, we may say as parents, even though my divorce weighs heavily on me and I wonder if I'll ever find love again, even though my parents are aging and won't let me parent them the way they need to, and I'm exhausted caring for them, and sometimes wish that God would just take them on, because that's part of being human, we can find a spirit of joy in the midst of that because God gives us strength that is not our own. Our joy can remain in the midst of difficult times. I don't know how many of you all spent time around Clay Green as he was going through his kidney preparation, but that was some of the best joke time I'd ever heard Clay have when he was going through his preparation for his kidney transplant. And the joy that comes from receiving a gift of life from someone else and maintaining a positive spirit in the midst of that, even though I know he was scared to death, and even though he had to wonder if it was going to be effective. Another important thing for us to remember about joy is it's not dependent on the absence of sorrow or pain. Joy coexists in the midst of pain and sorrow and suffering. What I want to encourage you to do this week as you think about the difference between the happiness and joy, and you think about this lesson on rejoicing, is to maybe make a list of the people in your life who have taught you how to be joyful in the midst of difficult times. The people who've made indelible impressions upon your life, who've taken you under their wing and who've taught you to be the man or the woman that you are. And I'm going to encourage you, if you know somebody who needs a little lift to their spirit because they're dragging you down all the time, maybe you can pass on that name to them or introduce them to somebody who can help model a different way to live. I think anytime we want to hear messages of hope, we can look to the life of David. I love David because he was just as human as they come. He could mourn, he could rant, he could rave, he could dance, he could praise. And he has some of the most beautiful psalms. Psalm 98 is a lovely one that has contextual fitting for us this morning. It was written, the song Joy to the World was written as an inspiration from Psalm 98. Isaac Watts, who was an English preacher and theologian and songwriter, in 1710, when he was 45 years old and reading that psalm, penned the words to one of our most beloved carols in Joy to the World. This is the way Eugene Peterson translates that piece of the psalm from which Isaac Watts took the hymn. Shout your praises to God, everybody. Let loose and sing. Strike up the band. Round up an orchestra to play for God in 100-voice choir. Feature trumpets and big trombones. Fill the air with praises to King God. Let the sea and its fish give a round of applause. With everything living on earth, join in. Let ocean breakers call out encore and mountains harmonize the final. A tribute to God, or the finale. A tribute to God when He comes to set the earth right. He'll straighten out the whole world. He'll put the world right and everyone in it. As good as the film was for me, The Pursuit of Happiness, I like the commentary that the Reverend Martin Luther King gives on the subject of happiness and what the pursuit of it is about. MLK said there's something intrinsically wrong with pursuing happiness rather than living the gospel. The end of life, he said, is not to be happy. The end of life is not to achieve pleasure and to avoid pain. The end of life is to do the will of God, come what may. And we all know there's a lot of come what mays in this life. It's hard to know what the will of God is. Sometimes we can find that in our own prayer time and prayer corners, and other times we have to seek out the community to help understand what the will of God is for us. But I want us to think about, as we close, what it means to experience joy in the midst of the unexpected. The prophet Habakkuk put it this way: though the fig tree does not bud and there are no grapes on the vine, Though the olive crops fail and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stall, yet will I rejoice in the Lord. It's for that same reason that Mary and Joseph could sing along with the angels when they knew that their son wouldn't have the proper birth that he wanted, and that before they knew it, they would have to rush off to Egypt because a king wanted to kill him. And it's the same reason the Apostle Paul could write such seemingly oxymoronic words of joy and contentment, even as he awaited a death sentence in his jail cell. Joy, my friends, is an inside job. It is not conditioned on what is going on around us. It is a spirit that we carry within us that only God can nurture.